o'clock, and it's now time for the big story. So a strong squall line brought unusually strong winds to Jamaica yesterday, causing power outages for approximately 50,000 Jamaica Public Service JPS customers across several communities. JPS's Incident Command Center had been activated to manage the situation and facilitate a swift restoration response. Over 50% of the initially affected customers, I believe up to yesterday, were already restored, and the JPSCo is working to restore service as safely and as quickly as possible. Joining us to give us an update on the situation is Director of Corporate Communications, Winsome Callum. I haven't spoken to Winsome in a minute. Good morning, Winsome. How are you today, Ms. Callum?
Hi, good morning, Richard B. I am great, thank you. And good morning to all your listeners and our customers.
All right, wonderful to have you once again. Now, let me ask you, Ms. Callum, what areas were most affected by the power outages caused by the storm yesterday, and how extensive is the damage to the electrical infrastructure?
Well, the squall line affected several parishes. It started out on the eastern end of the island. I think it started in St. Thomas, and it moved gradually across the southern side of the island, going as far, I believe, as Westmoreland. So power outages affected customers in these parishes all the way from Kingston and St. Andrew over to Westmoreland. What we experienced were winds, storm force winds, as high as I think it was 40 miles per hour. Now, you're talking about a tropical storm kind of wind here.
Yes.
You might have seen the images of the wind knocking over containers at the Kingston Freeport.
Yes, I saw that.
That's the fourth wind that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So what happened with the electricity yesterday? We had debris flying from all over into the power lines. We had zinc, we had billboards, we had trees, we had, a lot of loose debris and things in people's yard just flying all over and getting into the power lines and damaging the power lines.
Okay.
So we, at about 2:30 yesterday, we had about 50,000 customers who were affected by outages. Thankfully, right now, as we speak, we have less than 1,000 persons who are still without power. Our teams worked right up to midnight last night. We were trying to get everyone back in, but we weren't able to. So they're back out again this morning, and we expect that before the morning is out, every person who was affected, everybody who was affected by the squall line and lost their electricity, as a result, would have gotten back their supply.
Okay, well, that is good news coming from you. Can you say, like, what are some of the areas that are still affected, and what are some of the challenges that your team might have been facing on the ground in getting power back up safely and quickly?
The communities that were affected are scattered. What we have are pockets, like small pockets. We call a span of line a feeder. Mm-hmm. So it's not entire communities that are affected. So in Kingston and St. Andrew, at last report, we had some outages affecting August Town and a section of Lady Musgrave Road. And that was and we restored the area around it. But because there might have been a fuse or some other device separating a segment, we would not have been able to get to that segment. So the team is going back this morning to just sort of do some kind of cleanup activity where we get power back to these segments. Mm-hmm. In terms of the communities affected, as I said, they were all over. In several parishes. Mm-hmm. In St. Catherine, sections of Portmore were affected. Over in I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the list right here.
No worries.
We had in Clarendon, we had Mineral Heights, a few areas, surrounding areas there affected. Over in Manchester and St. Elizabeth, we have little pockets of communities also affected. So it's really a situation where you have a smattering of customers here and there affected by outages.
Got you. I honestly did not realize that it was so extensive because I was caught in a studio doing some recordings at the time, and it wasn't until we had a situation that affected the computers that we had to restart, that we started looking outside to see what was going on. But did it get to the point, Ms. Callum, where you had to restore power, say, to hospitals or for water plants, any communication infrastructure, and so on, because of what happened with the storm?
Yes, we did have a few of those critical facilities being affected by the power outage, as you would have when you have storm or hurricane conditions. As usual, we give priority. As you realize, we give priority to those critical customers. So KPH was one of the facilities that was affected. We had a few of the communication sites for diesel and flow affected, and yes, we did have water pumps affected. Those, in some cases, thankfully, those customers had backup generators, so they were not unable to service their customers.
Okay.
We, however, did give priority to them, and yes, we were able to restore supply quickly.
Yes.
Now, what you find with yesterday's weather, adverse weather situation is that it did not cause permanent damage, devastating damage to the power system. And this is because of two reasons. One, we've been doing a lot of work to build up the resilience of the grid. When you have storm conditions and hurricanes, you have to expect outages. And yesterday we did experience storm winds. So there were outages. The good thing is that the grid was not permanently damaged. You had what we call transient damage. One, because of the nature of the adverse weather condition, where it was really mostly the risk was mostly flying debris and zinc and stuff like that. So the nature of the damage was not as devastating as we would have had in another kind of situation where you had rain and stronger winds. But the grid held up, and know some of our customers who are still without power are a little annoyed and probably not really buying into this. But the fact is, the grid responded well based on the work that we've been doing, the structural integrity work that we've been doing, and the vegetation management work that we've been doing right across the island to remove trees from within from close to power lines. So I'm really assured that those customers who are still out, the fewer than 1,000 customers who are still out, will get back their power supply this morning.
Well, that is good news for all of us as a country to hear that the grid stood up well, and we hope that it will, if it's tested again anytime in the future. But in closing this morning, Ms. Callum, I wanted to ask you to share some advice, maybe precautions that persons should take, your customers should take, those who are still without power, or who may be dealing with downed power lines and damaged equipment. What advice would you want to share with us before you go?
First, I'd just like to say to everyone that with climate change and what's happening in the environment, it's likely that we will be experiencing adverse weather conditions like this from time to time. We have predictions of very active hurricane season, so we individually as consumers and corporately as JPS, we have to prepare in advance.
Yes.
So my advice to customers is expect power outages when we have adverse weather conditions, but you can rest assured that JPS will respond as quickly as possible. Secondly, as you prepare for the hurricane season, make sure that you have alternative lighting. That is most important. So get safe lighting like flashlights, and make sure you have your batteries, and you can get power banks for your devices. On the issue of safety, yesterday when debris and stuff were flying all over, people were outside. If you are outside in a situation like this, try and get shelter, get away, get to a place where you're not hit by zinc and stuff that can really, really hurt you. If you are inside, do not go outside. It is dangerous. We saw very heavy objects toppling over, and it was really scary for some people. I don't know if you've seen some of the videos, but we ask people to stay inside if you are experiencing any adverse weather condition like the storm winds we saw yesterday. If you are outside, you may see power lines or cable lines on the ground. You don't know if it's cable. You don't know if it is a live line. Stay away from them. We have had accidents where persons assume that the lines are not energized and they've gotten hurt. So stay away from downed power lines. Stay away from cable lines. Just stay away from anything that's broken and on the ground. And you know how to report it to JPS. Use the mobile app, or you can call us at 888-CALL-JPS. That's 888-225-5577. But the most efficient way of getting a report into JPS is by using the mobile app. So try and download the app and register and make sure that you have it handy to make reports of power outages or any other report that you need to make to JPS.
And just to go back to something you mentioned earlier, for those about approximately 1,000 customers that are still without power, you did say that maybe during the course of the morning, maybe at worst early afternoon, they'll be getting their power back. Is that what you say?
We are making every effort to get these customers back before midday today. Oh. And you'd asked earlier about the areas that were experiencing extended outages.
Yes.
We may have pockets of customers out in St. Catherine, in New Harbor Village, on Brunswick Avenue, Frenchman Heights. Over in Portmore, I know that there are sections of Helsha that were affected up to late last night. I'm not sure if everybody has gotten back power over there, and we had a few customers over in Passage Fort. Over in Clarendon, there's a community, Church Bush, and another one, Coffee Ridge, that still had outages up to late last night. I'm hoping that you're back now, and if not, we will get back your power this morning.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Callum, for taking the time to update us and our listeners on JPSCo's ongoing restoration efforts following yesterday's freak storm. We truly appreciate the hard work of the teams on the ground working around the clock to bring back power safely and swiftly to affected communities. Thank you again for the information you shared, and I wish you a safe and productive day. Thank you
so very much.
All
you
right.
Have a good day now.
All
Bye-bye.
the best to you, Miss Callum.